Guys, we are getting closer and closer to 27,000 subs here on New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. We put out videos every single day on Big Blue. We talk about the NFL draft, free agency, trades. We do game stuff as well. We're live for every single game day during the season. So if you love the Giants and you're looking for content every day on Big Blue, go down right now, hit that sub button, help us get to 27,000. We're doing it for Brandon Jacobs. What's going on, everybody? You're watching New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green. In today's show, we're going to go through 9 pre-draft visits that have happened so far for the New York Giants or are going to happen within the coming days. These are visits that the Giants only have 30 of at their disposal. So you have to be somewhat wise about how you want to do these visits. Not all of them are going to be first-round picks. That wouldn't be all that smart because you're only getting one guy in the first round. The Giants have 10 picks in this draft, so you're going to see some guys on this list that may go in round 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and all the way up to Mr. Irrelevant, and maybe some guys that could be UDFAs that they could look at. Reasons for these visits. You want another up-close personal visit with these guys. You want to hang out with them, maybe put them through a physical, maybe put them in for a workout, and just see how they interact inside the building. So let's start with one that I thought was pretty interesting, and a guy I'm a big fan of is Marvin Mims, the wide receiver for Oklahoma. He's 5'11", 183 pounds, but he is an absolute speedster, and he is a big play machine. He runs a 4.38 40, and he was absolutely electric last year for the Oklahoma Sooners. 54 grabs, but over 1,000 yards, 20.1 yards per catch, and 6 touchdowns. I've seen him in mock drafts going in round 2. I've seen him in mock drafts going in round 4. The reason he may not go at the top of the draft despite elite production is sometimes he has those concentration drops. Sometimes he just drops the ball on very catchable passes. But this is a guy that puts a lot of pressure on opposing secondaries. He makes safeties know where he is at all times. He is a speedster, and you can tell the Giants want to add more speed to this wide receiver depth chart. He is a little bit smaller, 5'11", 183 pounds, but he's someone that could stretch the field vertically. I think he's definitely someone the Giants are going to be interested in. And if it's the right place, the right time, I could see him being a New York Football Giant. Another pre-draft visit the Giants have is Hendon Hooker, the quarterback for Tennessee. Had a really good season last year and really career for the Tennessee Volunteers. Unfortunately, ended prematurely, and he had that torn ACL. Look, if he isn't hurt and he doesn't have a torn ACL, he might be a first-round pick in this draft. He still might be a first-round pick, but there's also a thing that he is 25 years old, and he spent so much time in college, and he played so well in college. When you look at what he did throughout his career, started off with Virginia Tech. He was good there, but once he got to Knoxville, he was absolutely electric. Almost 80 touchdowns in the past 2 seasons and only 5 interceptions. He completes a very high percentage of his passes. I honestly don't think that the Giants are going to draft Hendon Hooker because I don't think that there's a spot where it makes sense. You're not picking him at 25 after you just gave Daniel Jones pretty much 3 years guaranteed. Second round's too early. Third round's too early, in my opinion, for a backup quarterback. But I know they met with him extensively at the Senior Bowl, and they're having him in a pre-draft visit now. They definitely are interested in Hendon Hooker. Another wide receiver that they met at their pro day, they had him and took him out to dinner, and now he's going to come to New Jersey and be inside the building, and that is Jordan Addison. He is wide receiver number 2 for me in this draft, right behind Jackson Smith and Jigba. I love Jordan Addison because he could play on the inside and he could play on the outside. A little bit slight and slender in stature, just 5'11", 173 pounds, and he definitely had a better year back in 2021 with the Pittsburgh Panthers, but was still really good for USC. When you look at what he did for Pitt in 2021, he had 100 grabs for almost 1,600 yards and 17 touchdowns, and that's where he predominantly played out of the slot. But at USC, he was a guy that played on the outside, and he did it all and still had 60 grabs for 875 yards and 8 touchdowns. I think Addison doesn't really have any bust potential in the NFL. Is he going to be great? There's a chance. I just don't see a world where he's not a productive football player, runs too good of routes, has too much flexibility, and a guy that can line up anywhere on the football field and succeed. I think you're going to find a spot for him in the NFL at all costs. So should the Giants draft Jordan Addison? Say that he's on the clock when the Giants are on the clock in round 1 at pick number 25. Do you think the Giants should draft him? Let me know. Type D for draft, type P for pass. Sound off for me down below. A cornerback that the New York Giants are bringing in is Cam Smith out of South Carolina. This is someone that has had mixed reviews so far throughout the NFL draft process. Some people have him as a first-round pick. Some people have him as a late second-round pick. But he's a damn good football player. 6'1", 180 pounds, extremely good athlete, 4.4 40. He can move. I like the length that he has at 6'1". Sometimes he gets a little bit lost in coverage, but he is great. And this past year at South Carolina, people just didn't throw his way. And that's why he didn't really have any interceptions, whereas in the years past, he was really a ball hawk. Just 1 interception this year, 2 pass breakups, allowed just 2 touchdowns and 211 yards, and it was really because people just didn't throw his way. People have some concerns that he's only 180 pounds, but when you look at the numbers, he only allowed a 47.4 completion percentage, 211 yards. He's an absolute dog, and he's someone that I would like to have on this team. Probably wouldn't take him at pick number 25, but if he's there at pick number 57, I'd jump all over him, and I would definitely think that he's the guy that maybe the Giants could look to trade up for in round 2. Another player that we have talked extensively about in this pre-draft process is Zay Flowers, and he is going to take an official top 30 visit with the New York Giants. Flowers is one of my favorite receivers in this draft. I have him as wide receiver 3 right behind Addison and Jackson Smith and Jigba. If he was 6 foot, I think he'd be the best receiver in this draft. Thing is, he's not. He's 5'9", 182 pounds, extremely athletic, 4'4", 40, and a guy that produces every single year for Boston College. I love that also, like Jordan Addison, he can play on the inside at the slot. He could play on the outside. He could be your gadget guy behind the line of scrimmage. But the thing that I think Zay Flowers does that separates him from the rest of the pack in this draft class is what he's able to do when the football is in his hands. I would say he's one of the best generators of yards after catch once he gets the rock, and that's something that the Giants are looking for. We've heard Joe Shane talk about that time and time again. I know people are probably like, we already have Wan'Dale Robinson and Sterling Shepard and Jamison Crowder. Do we need another short slot guy? Well, none of those guys are as good as Zay Flowers, and if you can get an alpha like him, a guy that had, 12 touchdowns this year, 5 touchdowns the year before, 9 touchdowns as a sophomore, and over 1,000 yards, yeah, you could use that because he's a wide receiver 1 in the making. Some people say he reminds them of Antonio Brown, the football player. And if you get that guy, that's a damn good receiver for a very, very long time. We'll get to more pre-draft visits coming up here in a second. But first, I got to tell you about our proud sponsor of today's show, and that is Fume. Are you tired of struggling with bad habits? Cold turkey might be great for sandwiches, but there's a better way to break free from those pesky habits, and it doesn't involve weird mind voodoo or other bizarre tactics. Introducing our sponsor, Fume, an innovative award-nominated device that helps you kick bad habits to the curb by focusing on the good parts. Fume is all about embracing the natural. It's not electronic, and instead of vapor, Fume uses flavored air. Best of all, it's free of harmful chemicals and packed with delicious all-natural flavors. The adjustable airflow dial and movable parts and magnets make it perfect for fidgeting, which can help alleviate stress and anxiety while you break your habit. I wasn't sure what to expect at first, but I was pleasantly surprised by the taste, feel, and look of Fume. Breaking a habit can be tough, but with Fume, it's easy, enjoyable, and even fun. With over 100,000 customers and countless success stories, there's no reason you can't be next. Start your journey towards a healthier lifestyle with the Journey Pack from Fume. Visit tryfume.com/chatsports and use code chatsports for 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today. That's tryfum.com/chatsports and use code chatsports to get 10% off the Journey Pack today. Journey Pack comes with 3 unique flavors. That includes white cranberry, maple pepper, and crisp mint. That link is clickable down in the comments and description of today's video. Devon Matthews is another guy the Giants are bringing in for a pre-draft visit, and this guy isn't even a guy that really some people could see being drafted. I've seen him in the 5th, 6th, 7th, and undrafted rounds when I've done some mock draft, and he is a physical specimen. 6'2", 206 pounds, 66 tackles last year, 1 interception, 3 pass breakups. He's a strong safety that loves to get downhill. He likes to bring the contact. He's a physical player. He likes to put his face in the middle of it. He could play inside the box. You could bring him off the edge as a blitzer, but 6'2", 206 pounds. You look at a guy that maybe Wink Martindale has fallen in love with, that he thinks that he could bring him out of whatever type of player he is right now and get him to be an elite player in this league. Maybe, but I could see this guy, if he doesn't get drafted, as someone that the Giants sign throughout the UDFA process. Gervon Dexter is the next guy the Giants have brought in for a pre-draft visit. He is a defensive tackle out of Florida, and he is a physical specimen. This dude is one of the biggest freaks in the NFL draft. 6'6", 310 pounds. He could play nose tackle. He could play defensive tackle, but he ran a 4.88 40 at 6'6", 310 pounds. Extremely raw prospect. He is not ready to be an every down player in the National Football League, but the size, the physicality, the tools, and the athletic ability are absolutely there. He just needs to figure out how to be a professional football player, and playing alongside a guy like Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams, those are 2 great guys to learn the tricks of the trade from. 55 tackles last year for the Florida Gator, 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. He also had an interception. This is one of the guys I'm most intrigued about in this draft, and I think him in the right system like the Giants could make a whole lot of sense. Trey Palmer, another wide receiver that the Giants have shown some interest in, is the speedster as well. When you think about Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison, Trey Palmer, as well as Marvin Mims, all of those receivers are extremely fast, and Trey Palmer fits that bill as well. 4'3", 340. This dude can skate. He can fly. He is a blur in the open field, and he can get behind you and chunk up the deuce and celebrate in the end zone. Last year for Nebraska, had 71 catches for over 1,000 yards, 15 yards per catch, and 9 touchdowns. This guy's going in the mid-rounds of the NFL draft, and I think you're starting to realize the Giants are placing a very high importance on speed. They want guys on the outside that can go the distance. The Giants were one of the worst explosive pass play offenses in the National Football League last year. I think they're trying to change that this year. Palmer, he's an explosive player, and I think the Giants could keep their eyes on him in the mid-rounds of this draft. The last player we're going to talk about that we know has visited or will visit the Giants is Kendre Miller, the running back out of TCU. This dude is an absolute beast. Had somewhat of a knee injury to close out the season, so he didn't play in the national championship, and he also hasn't gone through pre-draft testing. 6 foot, 220 pounds, 224 carries last year for the Horned Frogs, 1,400 yards on the ground, 6.2 yards per pop, and 17 touchdowns. He's a touchdown machine. He's a physical and violent runner, and he's also has some sneaky speed. Had a 75-yard touchdown run against the Texas Longhorns, where it just looked like a stretch play to the right side, but he got north and south once he hit the sideline, and it was a guy that was chunking up the deuces. Brian Dable, there's video of him at the TCU Pro Day talking to Miller. So obviously the Giants have had multiple conversations with this guy. And I think the Giants could surprise some folks and maybe go draft a receiver with running back, with one of these midday picks that they have. They have 10 picks at their disposal, and maybe round 3, 4, 5, or the second, 5th round pick you have, you could see Miller come off the board or any other running back. There were reports that the Giants were interested in who's the running back for the Panthers that signed with Chicago Bears? Deontay Foreman. Giants were supposedly in the running to sign him. He chose the Chicago Bears. That shows the Giants want to get a good back to back up Saquon Barkley. And I know they already brought back Matt Breida, but I think they could look for more of a power back, and that's what Miller absolutely is. I want to ask you guys this question. We've asked it time and time again. Who should the Giants draft in round 1? We didn't talk about too many round 1 guys in this video, but there's always talk about who the Giants will pick at 25. I want to hear from you. Predict in the comments section. Who's Joe Shane going to pick at number 25? Appreciate everybody for tuning in to today's show. If you haven't yet, Give me a follow on Twitter at @MarshallGreen_. We just crossed over 3,000 followers over there. We got a strong army of G-Men Fin on that platform. Give me a follow at @MarshallGreen_.